Hey, good afternoon, everybody. It is November 27th, 2022. We are in the New Testament, and we are in the book of John. We're going to read chapter 18, verse 1 to 27 today. All right, so we are at the point in John's Gospel where Jesus is going to be betrayed and arrested. And John gives us some different perspective on it, a little bit different narrative on it. He doesn't want us to know about Judas kissing Jesus as part of the betrayal. He wants us to see that Jesus really was in charge. Even as he's getting arrested, even as he's being betrayed, it's still Jesus that's in charge of everything. He wants us to see Peter's denials and Peter pulling out his sword. So that's kind of the poster child for the disciples that didn't quite understand exactly what Jesus was about. They knew he was from God. They knew he was speaking the truth. But they were still, even at this point, kind of thinking, okay, this is where he's going to throw back the Messiah robes and boom, he's going to start smiting people right and left. And Peter wants to pull out his sword and, hey, we're going to fight to the death. And Jesus stops him and says, no, that's not it. I'm the one that's going to get killed here. And it confuses the heck out of the disciples. In fact, confuses them so much that Peter denies that he knows Jesus because he's not sure what's going on. And he's kind of concerned about his own skin at that point. We see Jesus brought before first Annas, and Annas was an important person. He used to be the high priest, and when the Romans came in, they kicked him out and they made his son-in-law the high priest. So what we're kind of seeing is these Pharisees who are oh no, the Romans are the rulers and we always do what they say. It's secretly behind the scenes. Annas was still the high priest as far as they were concerned. So that's where they took Jesus first. And he took him there in the middle of the night, which they shouldn't do under Jewish law. They wanted him to confess his crime before they accused him of anything, which was against the law of the Jews. And they didn't want to tell him what they thought he'd done. So they just wanted to convict him and execute him and hopefully be done with him and hope that appeased the Romans enough to leave him alone. So let's go ahead and we're going to read John chapter 18, verse 1 through 27. After Jesus had said these things, he went out with his disciples across the Kidron Valley, where there was a garden, and he and his disciples went into it. Judas, who betrayed him, also knew the place, because Jesus often met there with his disciples. So Judas took a company of soldiers and some officials from the chief priests and the Pharisees, and came there with lanterns, torches, and weapons. Then Jesus, knowing everything that was about to happen to him, went out and said to them, "Who is it that you're seeking?" "Jesus of Nazareth," they answered. "I am he," Jesus told them. Judas, who betrayed him, was also standing there with them. When Jesus told them, "I am he," he stepped back and fell to the ground. Then he asked them again, "Who is it that you're seeking?" "Jesus of Nazareth," they said. "I told you I am he," Jesus replied. "So if you're looking for me, let these men go." This was to fulfill the words he had said, "I have not lost one of those you have given me." Then Simon Peter, who had a sword, drew it, struck the high priest's ear, and cut it off his right ear. The servant's name was Malchus. At that, Jesus said to Peter, "Put your sword away. Am I not to drink the cup the Father has given me?" Then the company of soldiers, the commander and the Jewish officials, arrested Jesus and tied him up. First they led him to Annas, since he was the father-in-law of Caiaphas, who was the high priest that year. Caiaphas was the one who had advised the Jews that it would be better for one man to die for the people. Simon Peter was following Jesus, as was another disciple. That disciple was an acquaintance of the high priest, so he went with Jesus into the high priest's courtyard. But Peter remained standing outside by the door. So the other disciple, the one known to the high priest, went out and spoke to the girl who was the doorkeeper and brought Peter in. Then the servant girl who was the doorkeeper said to Peter, "You aren't one of this man's disciples too, are you?" "I am not," he said. Now the servant and the officials had made a charcoal fire because it was cold. They were standing there warming themselves, and Peter was standing with them, warming himself. The high priest questioned Jesus about his disciples and about his teaching. "I have spoken openly in the world," Jesus answered him. "I have always taught in the synagogue and in the temple, where all the Jews congregate, and I haven't spoken anything in secret. Why do you question me? Question those who heard what I told them. Look, they know what I said." When he had said these things, one of the officials standing by slapped Jesus, saying, "Is this the way you answer the high priest?" If I have spoken wrongly, Jesus answered him, give evidence about the wrong. But if rightly, why do you hit me? Then Annas sent him bound to Caiaphas, the high priest. Now Simon Peter was standing and warming himself. They said to him, you aren't one of his disciples too, are you? He denied it and said, I am not. One of the high priest's servants, a relative, the man whose ear Peter had cut off, said, didn't I see you with him in the garden? Peter denied it again. Immediately a rooster crowed. May God bless the reading of his word. May God bless you. Bye.